Hey guys, welcome to my YouTube channel. I'm just some bored high schooler that wants to make videos about planes for you guys. And today I'm going to be talking about the P-61 Black Widow. Now the P-61 was a American fighter bomber. It was actually the first warplane to be designated a night fighter, right? And it was designed specifically as a night fighter. And it was also the first aircraft to implement radar. It was crewed by 3 people: a pilot, a gunner, and a radar operator. And sorry. And the U.S. Army Air Force had to actually specifically train, pilots or crewmen, because they didn't know how to operate the radar. Because keep in mind, this is the first plane to actually utilize radar in a plane. So basically, to begin with, in August of 1940, sorry, the American general or commanding officer, was actually brought into a briefing room in London, England, I think, and he was briefed on radar, which stands for radio detection and ranging. So basically they were like, this is a cool idea. What if we put this in a plane? So Northrop was like, that sounds like a good idea. I'll take that challenge on. So they get to work on sketching up rough drafts of a P-61. Now, the P-61 isn't anywhere near, it's not very popular, but it served an important part in the war. I think every plane did, and I think every man did. So basically, Northrop. Now, this is before Northrop and Grumman actually collaborated, unlike Northrop Grumman. So this is just Northrop. So basically, Northrop started designing the night fighter, and basically, their first idea was just a long tube, right? Attached to wings. Wings attached to the tube. And it was basically just a gondola with wings and 2 engines and tail booms. So basically tail booms are there's 2 tail booms. Okay, so a tail boom is the strut that goes out to the actual tail. So a tail boom would be the thing that is the strut. So this one had 2 tail booms, which means it had 2 tail booms going back, and then it's like the P-31. Or not the P-31, the P-36, like the Lightning. It was basically that, right? So that was his design idea. Oh, here it is. It had 2 Pratt & Whitney R280s with 10 double wasp. It had 2,000 horsepower each, so that's pretty good. The fuselage, the gondola I talked about, it housed the crew, obviously, and the radar operator was actually sat in the nose cone underneath the pilot, so the pilot was sitting on top of the radar operator. So, yeah, I think that's about it for design. basically, they started to get to work on it, and they were like, all right, you know, this is actually going pretty good. Let's give it a prototype designation. So they named it the YP-61. Y standing for prototype, right? It's interchangeably between X and Y. People call it the XP61, and then people call it the YP-61. You know, the YP-61 was actually the pre-production prototype, and the X61 or the XP-61 was actually the actual prototype. So it wasn't a final plan or anything, final design. Basically, they added, so there were some changes to the plans after the prototype testing. There were some changes to the plans. They added a remote turret on top of the fuselage, and they added a tail gun and forward-facing guns. Those were actually 20mm cannons in the wings, and they had a 20mm cannon in the back too. So basically, they did some testing, and they were like, all right, man, this seems good. So basically, they put it into service, right? And the P-61 was doing amazing, right? It was one of the best night fighters out on the market right now. So just imagine you're in, you're part of the Allies, and you see one of these things flying over, man, you'd be terrified. Just because it looks so menacing. Like, you can look up a picture right now of the P-61. It just looks, I don't know how to describe it. It looks nice. Basically, there's just a whole lot of people being like, hey, we like this, all right, build more. So they actually build a variant of it, a recon variant, called the F-15. Now, this is not to be confused with the new F-15 Strike Eagle. This is the F-15 Reporter, right? So anytime I say F-15, I'm referring to this one and not the F-15 Strike Eagle, which is a jet. Basically, for the F-15, or, it was actually also called the RF-61, so I could just say that. For the F-61, they stripped all the turrets off, they stripped all the guns off, and they gave it a sleeker design. So they smoothened out, the curves. And they also installed more radar equipment in. So it had a bigger crew of 4 and not just 3, because it had more crew, right? So basically it's the same thing, just with a bigger crew and no guns. So yeah, that's about a brief history of the P-61 Black Widow. I will probably be doing a part 2 on this, so leave a like.